right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is truly another terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today as we invite you to be part of what's going to unfold within the studio. And I'm always excited for many reasons, not least of which, and especially whenever we have our students so we can showcase them. We bring music and education together. Hey, it's going to be a great day as we talk a little bit about what's happening with our Cayman Youth Choir. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Royal Fidelity Bank and Trust, money at work.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And they say sometimes when the soul and the spirit resonates with a song, we can see it in their eyes. And when you have that jubilant step, as you sort of, some would say, parlay, I wouldn't say sashay, across the floor, you never know, whether it's a new salsa move that you learned or whether it's that, serenade that you try. Is it a sonnet? Who knows? Well, the Cayman, Arts Festival and our good friend, Ms. Maris Gianni. Thank you very much for allowing us to not just showcase what we have in our society, what we have invited to our shows so that our people can feel like they're in a big metropolitan area. But for me, more importantly, our youth to be celebrated. So thanks very much, my friend.
Thank you so much for inviting us today. Good afternoon to all your listeners. We come with a nice story. As part of Cayman Arts Festival, we have a nice story about Cayman Youth Choir today. So we brought the choir director and 2 students that they are part of the choirs. So you'll hear more from them than me today, but I'm here to support them.
And I will join you close, my friend. And this story unfolds not as a once upon a time, but yet in the hereafter and the beyond. Miss Naomi, welcome to you.
Welcome. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting us to come along. We are so delighted to be sharing with everybody today the news about our fantastic concert next week. It's called Let's Dance, featuring songs from the 1940s, the 1960s, a bit of disco, a bit of funk, a bit of pop, some show tunes. We've got some songs from famous movies, all the way through. A fantastic selection of songs, but all about dancing. Yeah. So when we're learning them, it's really difficult because every single song is called da-da-da-da-da dance or da-da-da dancing. So when we learn them, it's quite difficult to know which one's which because there's so many. Yeah. But it's a fantastic selection of songs. We've got 18 songs in total, 16 songs about dancing. We have our 2 choirs and our ensemble performing. So we are so lucky to have a huge number of students who sing with us now. I'm sure Mr. Maris will talk more about this, but we've grown. our family has grown. So we started with fewer students. Would you like me to carry on and tell the story? So we started off with fewer students, and they were wonderful young people. But we started with maybe 15 to 20.
Yes, when we started, there were 15.
Yeah, and that was always the plan, to have that number of students. It was, at the time, it was felt that was a good number to have. And then a couple of years ago, we decided to try to expand and to have more students from different schools and to have a wider experience for everybody and to make it more diverse, make it more inclusive for everybody. And in doing so, we've grown in numbers, but we've also grown in our age range as well. Yeah. So we started off with just the older ones, and I have to say now we have 4-year-olds coming to our choir.
Yeah, each choir director that we had, they had their own philosophy of doing the music with the choir. If they wanted to just handle 15 students, there were just 15 in the choir. Naomi came and changed everything. Now we have 3 choirs in one. So it's Cayman Youth Choir, but you can find a lot of sides. That different ages, and she's able to coordinate them really well.
Within the 3 choirs, totally, how many students do you think you have overall?
I think we have between 75 and 80 young people at the moment. So
let's
we've
aim
grown.
for 100. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I know, aim for the 100. The problem with 100 is space. That's the biggest problem we have. So the space issue, and obviously there's only at the moment one of me. So when we have 45 4 to 10-year-olds, that's quite a challenge to keep an eye on them all, because they are very enthusiastic and very full of beans. Very British saying.
That's the way it should be. An energetic, enthusiastic, young individual. And we want to ask more about it, but before we bring our students in, how many schools are now currently participating in the youth choir?
So the great thing with the choirs, both of them together, is that I would say we represent pretty much every single school in Cayman, with some homeschooled students as well. So it's really nice. It's a fantastic way of the government schools coming together with the private schools. Nobody cares what school people go to. It doesn't matter. We're there to make music, and it's so wonderfully diverse and inclusive. And we're so proud of the fact that people come together and just make music and make friends.
That's how it is, right?
Yeah, I think with capitals we can say diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, and that's really important. Capitals. And the other factor that makes that work is the fact that of the location, being at John Gray. We rehearse at John Gray at the moment. And of course, there's so many schools around us that people can just walk to the rehearsal, so that works really well. And also, we don't have auditions, and nobody has to pay a penny to be in the choir. So
I may actually, as I alluded to earlier, issue a challenge at my expense. And it's a Thursday. People probably don't laugh enough.
Should we could do our counting warm up? Would that be quite good fun?
And the thing is, I look in the mirror every day, not to shave, not to admire, but to laugh. So why not people have a laugh and lighten?
Would you like to do a warm up with us?
Yeah. So I'm going to come to that in a second, right? Because I want people to appreciate how important this is. Now, your rehearsals, just for the parents, going to ask you when.
Of
course. You said to John Gray, but when?
So they're on a Monday evening after school. So the Tiddly Pops Choir, which is so named after our youngest member, the girls here, April and Shayla, will remember a young lad called Aaron joined us, and he was very small. And I called him our Tiddly Pop because it's a very British thing to call something that's small tiddly. And when we had more people wanting to join, we decided to call them that. Our Tiddly Pops Choir is for ages 4 through to 10, and that rehearses on a Monday from 3:30 to 4:15 at John Gray. And then our senior choir, which is age 10 through to 19, our oldest young person. Yeah. She's 19, but she's also a lead chorister as well. So she's taking more of a leadership role now. And Fiona has been with us for many years. I've been teaching her since I've lived here in Cayman. And now she kind of helps us in the choir, and she kind of takes on a more leadership role. She's leading the ensemble at the moment, which is our 3rd choir. So the senior choir rehearse from 4:30 to 5:45, and then after that we just do at the moment just maybe 15 or 20 minutes with our ensemble afterwards, and that's on invitation only. So we have 3 choirs at the moment.
And that's 19 plus, or could any of the age groups?
No, we're just up to 19 at the moment. I think 4 to 19, I think that's pretty good age range. I think it's huge.
Covers all the school ages.
It is. And also the good thing with that is when people come to the concert, you've got that energy and the fun and the vibrancy of the really young ones that, of course, is always a bit unpredictable.
And then ensemble, you say, is for by invitation only.
Yes, it is.
So any age group necessarily within that 4 to 19 could participate.
Yeah, so at the moment we have age 10 through to 19 in the ensemble.
Right. And this is it. Now, what I want to ask, as a people, we need to appreciate that there are probably many things that bring us together. I think the 3 that immediately come to mind: food, music, and sport. Right? And as a community, if we can bring, as you have, all the students across all the schools coming together, having fun, recognizing that there's incredible talent, but there's also incredible interest in the arts, and as they perform, who knows where this will lead us down the road. And Shakespeare always, reminds us, if music be the food, love play on. So when we come back from the break, I'll invite you to a couple of things. Perhaps Miss April and Miss Sheila can join us. Share, your perspective, your experiences. Just share as comfortably, as willingly as you choose. We really want to hear from you. If you believe in miracles, and to our listeners in particular, I would be the first to admit publicly that even in the shower, I don't sound good. Even in the shower by myself and nobody else around for miles, I probably don't sound good. My brothers have cautioned that I couldn't even carry a tune in a wheelbarrow with assistance. So,
you've thrown down the challenge now, have you?
Miss Naomi has said, you know what? She's going to be able to teach me to carry that tune in Marius. What do you think? Are we
going to do this now?
We're going to after the break, right?
After the break, wonderful.
Right. So if you either A, want a good laugh, B, you're a subscriber to Miracles, or C, you'll value your hearing and you're not adventurous, well, tell you what, join us after the break. We'll see what we can do. Is he going to sing? Is it going to be a Billy Joel song? Is he going to be... Wow, Miss Naomi's going to help us out. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
So why is a computer so smart? Because it has a motherboard. Mother's Day is coming up. Do the smart thing. Stop by Savannah Pharmacy with a beautiful collection of bags and beauty products or housewares for outdoor dining. Make the smart decision. Get all your Mother's Day purchases at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village or call 946-3336. Mom would be proud.
Freedom, Kim Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman, in partnership with the Lions Club of Cayman Brac, will be hosting a prostate and colon cancer educational awareness meeting this Friday, 30th April at 7 p.m. at the Brac Reef Resort Meeting Room. The guest speaker for the evening will be Dr. Gurish of the Faith Hospital. Royal Medical and Wellness Center will also be present to offer PSA testing. Come out and be informed.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And it's truly, I say this sincerely, I say this with the greatest love and respect, that whenever we can showcase our students, irrespective of the academics, the arts, the athletics, it doesn't matter. They could be volunteering, they could just, be. But we have to love, nurture, support, encourage, and provide the safest of settings so that they can excel. Mm-hmm. The Cayman Arts Festival, and Marius Guyana in particular, has allowed us through the Cayman Youth Club, Miss Naomi, and two of our students. Through you, I would love very much, before we get into our exercise, to introduce and invite our students to share with us. So Miss Sheila and Miss April, welcome. If you feel comfortable, maybe a quick intro, if you want to say anything in particular, but we would ask, your affinity for singing, your love for performing, and perhaps Michelle, you first. Has music always been that thing that you liked? How do you feel about performing and singing? What is your take on being a part of it? Just draw close to the mic and pretend you're on stage, and there's this audience far, and your biggest champion cheerleader is right front and center going, yay! So Michelle.
With music, I started music in primary school
Mhm.
with saxophone because I heard one song and I really wanted to learn it on saxophone.
Wow.
So I decided to do that, and then I came to John Gray. And one thing about John Gray, their music department is absolutely amazing. So I got to go into the swing band really quickly, and then from there I could go into ensemble and then all the choirs. Not all the choirs, but choir. And it was just really easy, and because there was so much support, it was really easy to just like integrate between
All right.
different ensembles.
And Mr. Yepper, what about you? I mean, singing, for some of us, we gravitate. As parents, we see our children just humming and singing, and to us, they sound great. Well, my parents were honest and they said, leave that to your sisters and brothers. You should write. But for some, they sing always, and I can see April being a jubilant singer, always joyful. Good afternoon, Miss April.
Hi. Well, I've always liked music, and I'm like the sibling that does music, so my other siblings don't. But the music community in our school, it's very welcoming, and you always feel comfortable whenever you're there. You get a lot of opportunities to sing, to play, and even some people went to Cuba at one time, and I just like it.
Julia has a song in Carly, went to Cuba, but that's a different song. But that's the thing, music, like well, for me it was football, but other sports, as a group, you get to travel, you get to perform, you get to be invited to certain things, and it builds, as you said, Miss Nima, lasting friendships. It encourages you, it empowers you.
And we always think of our choir as being a family.
Yes.
So not only are the young people a family, but all the parents and the carers are a family as well, and everybody works together. So we're so lucky to have, a choir family of hundreds of people who are all there to support our young people, to support each other, and to build something really special. And we're so proud of that. I can't underestimate how proud we are of what we've been able to build. And it's really, I think everybody needs to come to Let's Dance and see these young people, because I can promise you would not leave without the biggest smile on your face. When we did Beatlemania in February, there was a standing ovation between each song. People were cheering and they were on their feet, and there was that energy. It was really good, wasn't it? Did you love it? And the young people, they really, you enjoyed that too, Shayla and April, didn't you, as well? The fact that there was so much energy there, I think it was really good for you guys. You enjoyed it.
I think this is, as you share, we have a community that has a huge appreciation for music and for the arts, but for music in particular. We think back to the days of our parents and grandparents talking about kitchen dances. We think back to even ourselves, the school dances, the school plays. I loved morning devotion in primary school. And it wasn't that there were not only some very great singers amongst the faculty or teachers and our parents and students, but it was the joy that you felt. And you would leave that assembly feeling good, because music makes you feel good.
And singing in harmonies as well, I think, is something as well, that when you get those moments, as you know, when we're singing something and all of a sudden the harmonies work, it's just something really special happens, doesn't it? You sort of feel like some kind of magic has happened, and it's a wonderful experience.
Think that I drive in the mornings or in the afternoons, and you're in the car, whether with your partner, whether with your children, and you're just singing along to that song on the radio. And that does a lot for you. You're just singing, you're happy. The traffic, the congestion, the stress and trials and tribulations of the day, they melt away. But equally, I think there are some of us who see music, or singing in particular, as that thing that you have to be gifted. And like me, thankfully, I say, well, no, it's just about making a joyful noise. So do you think, Marius, would it be...
I have a question. A question for the students. Because I see that they have those vests. I assume that's an important role. In how music helps you in your education overall. It helps you with the other subjects somehow. How you, through music, how you build up your education.
Michelle, you want to go first? Does music give you extra confidence? Helps you to speak to your students and your peers in a certain way. What does it do, if anything?
I think one thing that it does do, because we have to do so many performances where we're in front of so many groups of people. I'm also in debate club, so it also helps me be less nervous, and I'm less shy when I'm actually debating. So that actually helps a lot. And then just the other day we had mock exams, and Mr. Allnut, another music teacher at our school, told us to listen to Mozart because it'll help us remember it. And he wasn't wrong. It did help me remember a lot. So I think music helps in various ways.
Sipro, what about you?
Music benefits you a lot, and also because we do so many extracurriculars with music, it like helps to look good on our like resumes and stuff if we ever want to join anything else.
And it's fun. And I think through, like you shared, there are some of us who may employ mnemonics, but if they want to remember a long list of things, put it to music. There are ways that you can employ music or beat. I can think of math and the drum. It's not just the 4/4, whatever, but the ability to, as you said, Mars, to bring music into play.
Yeah, it's a lot of discipline in music.
I think people sometimes can think that doing music should always just be the practical experience. It's not just the practical experience, it's the whole lifestyle of being a musician.
Yeah.
And the skills that you learn by doing it are completely invaluable. Sometimes teaching music, it can sometimes be quite frustrating because sometimes people don't think your subject is very important, and we all think our subject is very important, but music, I think more than any, you have such a wide range of skills you're developing, your listening skills, your confidence, your analysis skills, there's so many wide-reaching skills that you're using. And to go to an employer or university and have this amazing CV, as April said, where you have lots of experiences you've had, it's just so wonderful. And as the girls both said, we're so lucky at John Gray to have, I would like to think, a really good music department with lots of support for our young people, and also to have Cayman Youth Choir, where the students can extend that musicality and the other projects that Cayman Arts have, so that all of them get the maximum amount of music in their lives, and to have that family of musicians as well. So we're really proud of all of that, and we're proud of our young people, because without them, none of this would be possible.
Yeah. And I think that's where us as parents and sponsors and supporters and cheerleaders and just sometimes, not only the participants, but those who come and spectate and be a part of the audience.
Yeah.
Our energy allows the performers to feel that much more love. And then we, in turn, as the audience, get a greater experience. Right?
So the girls had a fantastic experience of this on Friday when we did a concert with Cayman National Choir and Orchestra, and we went to the Hartquill. And the sound at the Hartquill is quite difficult for a singer because it does that thing where the sound stops just in front of you and you feel like you're singing to yourself. But we did the concert, and the look on the young students' faces as they were singing, and they could see how good it sounded, and then they could see how the audience was responding, and then the whole thing was just lifted up, and it was an amazing experience. Would you agree that it was quite something special?
I think Songbird was the best part of it for me, because it's such a nice sound.
Yeah. Okay. So the song Songbird, Shayla just said, was her magic moment. It was really amazing, wasn't it? And it's one of those, like you were saying, one of those moments that really stands out to you.
It is, for those who may be a bit reticent and shy to pick up a mic and be in front of an audience. But I think music, as a performer, it allows you to appreciate that. You may always have those little butterflies, those jitters, but once the audience, can feel it, and you can feel that they feel it, then it becomes a performance, of a lifetime each and every time.
And being in a choir is great because you're part of a team. So it's a team that makes the music sound great. It's not that you're necessarily looking at individuals. The great thing with a choir is that you don't always need the best singers. You don't need the best singers in the world to have a fantastic choir. You need people who want to be there, who love it, enjoy it, have a smile on their face, and are ready to learn. Right. And that's so important.
So as we're ready to learn, because I think,
here we go.
Again, I keep thinking that parents in particular, and adults especially, we have this thing that I think is part of our own, quote unquote, in the small e education, that we become discouraged, for the best word to use, as we get older, that we no longer can learn. People say you can't teach, an old dog new tricks, but I think we should teach old tricks to a new dog.
So maybe we could do like something where we build a chord. Would that be quite nice, do you think? So we get like a harmony sound?
Let's try it. I'm willing. You know what? Sure. A quick disclaimer: if your friends and family who hold me close and I embarrass you, just pretend in the night that you know me. I'm okay with that for now on.
So maybe we'll do something like, maybe come to Let's Dance next Thursday, come to Let's Dance next Thursday, come to Let's Dance next Thursday. And then you could do come to Let's Dance next, but you might need to do it down low.
So come to Let's Dance next Thursday.
Perfect. Okay, you do that again for me.
Oh, I have to do that again.
You do.
Come to next dance next Thursday.
Okay, do it again. No, you sing the same note.
Okay.
Come to Let's Dance next Thursday.
Come to Let's Dance next Thursday.
Come to Let's Dance next Thursday. Come to Let's Dance next Thursday. Oh my goodness! Even they can't do it. Let's do the countdown. So this is a warm up we do, which is really funny. Okay, so this is a warm up we do, which is really, really funny. Are you ready for it? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you're going to go from 8, and I'm going to go from 1, 8, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. Their faces then. Don't put me on the spot. You do 1, I'll do 8. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 8, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went wrong. You can see that things never always work, but do you know what the thing is? It's got to be fun. Yeah, it doesn't matter if things don't work, you know? That's the greatest thing.
I think that's probably, as I listen to you and I look, I'm reminded that, humility amongst all, no matter how good we are. I think the greatest boxer was Muhammad Ali, would always be. The greatest football player was Pelé, and will always be. But the little that I know of them from reading and watching them, they were always willing to improve. Just like Michael Jordan with the basketball, always willing to improve. And if you never think that you reach the pinnacle, you'd always get better. I mean, think of Michael Jackson. From what we understand of it, he was always practicing and performing and trying to improve his craft. Mick Jagger. Right? And the difference between the one-hit wonders and those who become, legends, because they've always been dedicated and had respect for the craft, respect for their audience, and respect, for themselves in that sense. And Morris, I know we have the event. Maybe when we come back from the break, we can remind people where and when. And see, you too can be a great singer. You too can expect greatness if you apply yourself. So, Miss Sheila, maybe when we come back, we talk more. Miss April, likewise. All right. So the event is next week, a week hence. It's on the 6th. We'll tell you when and where and how to get there. All right. So please rejoin us after the short break.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Things just got a bit hotter on Island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
We are in an age of exponential change. The world is experiencing a technology boom where innovation is at an all-time high. What does this mean for small island nations? How can we adapt to the emerging digital revolution? Join 900 delegates from 3 Caribbean countries at one regional event to tackle the theme, Global Digital Disruption, Threat or Opportunity. The virtual RF Economic Outlook Conference happens on May 6th. Register today at rfeoc.com.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's new Straight Talk Morning Show. For the Record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the Record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And it's always good to laugh. And, you know, when you laugh, you love, and you live a little, you realize how much you might actually learn about yourself and appreciate what life has to offer. In addition to Marius and Miss Naomi, we have two wonderful students joining us, Miss Sheila and Miss April. Thanks very much. I trust that today will be one of those days you say, you know what? If ever I think I'm having a bad day, it can't be any worse than that guy who was singing. So it'll just make your days that much better from now on, all right? No, but next Thursday, there is an event. Before we continue, with our banter, just quickly, please remind our listeners where and, how we can be a part of it if you choose.
Okay, so Let's Dance is the name of the concert, and it's at the Hartquill Theatre on Thursday, the 6th of May. How is it May? Already. And
April,
no, tomorrow.
sorry,
Is it May? When's it May? Tomorrow?
Saturday.
It's so fast. So Thursday, the 6th of May, at the Hartquill Theatre, starting at 6 o'clock. So it's an earlier start, but perfect for people who have just finished work. They can come to us just after they finished. The reason for the earlier start is obviously 4-year-olds can't be doing a concert too late, so we have to be careful with that. Tickets are $15 for adults, and all under 18s are free, but they do need a ticket. Tickets are available from either Marius or myself. You can contact me on the Cayman Youth Choir @gmail.com email address, or you can send me a WhatsApp or telephone me on 922-2079, or Marius's number is
922-5550.
There are only maybe 10 to 15 tickets available, and the concessions in the interval are going to be provided by Meals on Wheels, so the monies will go towards that absolutely amazing and valuable charity for those in need in Cayman.
And this is where I think, as I look at one of the quick messages that are coming through from our listeners, talking about how music and our students build not just their friendships but their courage, and I think as a people we can continue to support. It's going to be an evening of entertainment but also excitement, and perhaps reminding us of how we have so much in our communities to be proud of. So 6 o'clock next Thursday, yeah?
6 o'clock next Thursday.
All right, man. Well, I'm excited. Now, tickets not inexpensive. I mean,
it's. I was saying, I said it's a bargain.
Yeah.
And the fantastic thing is that the ticket monies will obviously help to pay for the venue, but also go towards the wonderful work of Cayman Arts Festival, and also. At the moment, we're raising money towards some choir risers so that we have our own steps, so that when we go to perform, that we will have those to use for ourselves, so we won't have to hire them from somebody else.
Which is much better, because when we were in the choir, the guys who couldn't sing, we would actually have to kneel down and everybody stand on us. So those days are over.
Yeah, so we are in the process of ordering some so that we have them just for ourselves, so that when we do concerts we can fold them up and then take them to the venue, and we can put them up and we can rehearse on them as well. So if anybody feels like they would like to support us with those, that would be really helpful, because obviously they're not cheap, but it's also the cost of getting them on island, which is,
like everything else. There is a cost.
Of course.
But a greater cost than not having it. It makes your performances that much better.
It will. Yeah. And it helps us to move towards the future as well, so that's a really good way of doing that.
If the choir was having just 1-2 performances, once here and once God knows when, may not make sense, but this choir is actually almost every month, every other month they have a concert. They are invited all over, so it's nice to have such tools to help us.
Our first concert we did at Music at the Library, and we outgrew that venue. And then we used to feed them there. And then we used Elmsley, but then that's too small for us. So the venues keep having to get bigger and bigger, which is an amazing problem to have because our audiences get larger and larger, and our choir grows in size too.
But
So
that speaks
fantastic.
to one, not only the interest and reception from the community, but also amongst for this case, our students in music. And I think if I can revisit Michela's comment earlier, you started with the saxophone.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes we gravitate towards an instrument, guitar, piano, the sax. Was it tenor sax, or which was?
It was alto saxophone.
Alto. Yes. And if I can ask, other instruments that you play as well?
I also play violin.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Miss April, what about you?
Oh, I play trumpet and violin.
You see, it's
amazing.
It's amazing. I think as a community and as parents, and in particular within the realm of education, if we can allow our students to gravitate, towards music, to explore their interests, whether it's sports, and to be able to harness that, so that at the end of the day, it's not just about a written examination and a pass mark. It's about this thing that builds them up.
Exactly.
I can see, honestly, 30 years from now, you guys are around, you're celebrating some success of one of your colleagues, and there's a piano, there's some instruments, you may be at someone's house, and like our forefathers, all of a sudden, a concert breaks out. And it's fun, it's fellowship, it's lasting memories.
There's a very famous saying that no one has ever regretted taking up an instrument, but most people regret to stop playing an instrument. Many people will start it when they're at school and then they stop, and then they get to adulthood and they say, why did I stop playing the piano? Why did I stop?
That's
and they
me.
don't understand.
Yeah. That's me. I played piano when I was a child, and I went home after my second year exam, and I told my dad, you kill me, I'm not going back. And now I regret. So if you have in mind, you are listening to now, you have in mind to give up, please don't do it. It's a huge mistake.
Well, I wrote down earlier, and I'm so glad. Marius can't see my notes, and to the best of my thoughts, very few in our studio can read my thoughts. There may be one person, but she's not here. That's good. I was going to ask that same question because I think there are many of us who have been introduced to music earlier, instruments in particular, but we get older, or demands of our career or families of life, and we put down the instrument. What do we do about that? How can we find that balance? We do it with sport. We use injury or age or something else as a reason that we can justify in our minds why we don't play. But the piano, the guitar, is right there. So before I ask our students, Marius, what do we do between, an answer from you and Miss Naomi to encourage that as parents, as adults, to peck away at the ivories, to strum, on the strings?
I can give my own example. I was just mentioning that I gave up at one point. So one day I was in town and I was close to a music store. So I said, you know what, I'll buy it now. I'll get it now. So I got an instrument. I have keyboards at home. And I was buying that one for myself, but thinking of my kids, thinking that, okay, they will see me doing something and they will come. My little one is 4 years old and a half, and he's coming now. He's taking some piano lessons, and he's coming there, and together it's like a family project. We work together. So that could be a nice approach, because with a child of 4 or 5 years old, you cannot stay more than 20 minutes. You can spare 20 minutes in your life to stay and do something if you really miss some music.
And also the great thing now, which we didn't have as children, was technology and the internet. It's so easy for students to access learning now. Not always the best learning in the world, but there's a way of them accessing learning of instruments. So they can go on YouTube and they can find tutorials on how to do this. And if they're not confident enough to do one-on-one, there's possibilities for people to learn things remotely and online, and that's an amazing thing. So I think so many people now learn in that way, and it's not the greatest way to learn, but it's certainly a very positive way of learning, isn't it? For more people to play musical instruments has always got to be encouraged.
As an adult, you just want to enjoy it a bit, to escape, like we have spoken, to escape somehow, to do something new. And I remember that I was asking some friends, how you know how to play piano, can you play some hymnals for me? I really like old hymnals. And they said, oh man, that's not cool anymore. I said, no, you will see. So when I got that piano, I was having in mind that all I need is just to learn, and I think I can handle now Abide With Me.
Wow.
Just me at home, just watching and doing by myself on my own time.
It's a sticker.
You just need a few minutes to do this every day, and it's coming along if you really want to do it.
So discipline, determination, dedication.
And fun.
And fun.
I think, fun has got to be one of the most important things with music making for anyone, because that's the thing that sometimes prevents people from carrying things on. So I know with the youth choir, sometimes it's really hard work. It is hard work. We learn a lot of songs really fast. And sometimes it's like high pressure. But we try to keep it as fun as possible. And we try to choose songs that are nice to listen to, that are light, things they know, the things that audience will know. But also it's really important for our young people to hear music that they may not have heard before.
That's it. Introduce them. I'm
so it's a way of sharing the knowledge. Music is a way of sharing knowledge and sharing the experience. So Let's Dance that you sang earlier. Obviously, they've heard some David Bowie now. We've been doing, songs like Let's Face the Music and Dance. So there's a lovely Latin version of that we're doing that they may possibly not have heard before. So yeah, you've got all of these different aspects, but fun and smiling and laughter has got to be so important, and particularly with a choir, that's one of the most important things of all, really.
So we're going to ask you to end it out and do that David Bowie, your best, rendition of Let's Dance. But before we do, if Miss April and Miss Sheila feel comfortable and inclined, if you want to say anything in closing to anybody, if you want to make a special appeal to the audience to come out next Thursday, it's up to you. We'll start with you, Miss April. Any closing thoughts from you?
Well, I think people should come and see our show because we work really hard to sing to the best of our abilities. And Miss Allnut, she works really hard. And even Mr. Marius, they both are very hard workers. And they make the space that we sing and we practice in, make it feel comfortable. And we even make friends and we enjoy it.
There you go. Hey, Sheila?
Echoing April's thoughts, I think everyone should come out just to see our hard work put in action, as well as to help us get some of the supplies that we need, and also to, just simply see us perform and see what we do and see how much time and what time and effort can actually do for a show.
Perfect. So, David Bowie, channel your best David Bowie, Miss Naomi.
Am I singing it? I'm not
Come
gonna
on.
No,
Put
I'm not
on
gonna
your red. Come on. I did it, you can do it.
No, please do. I'm distracting you from that.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, do come to our concert. These young people are so inspiring. They inspire me every single rehearsal. I am so lucky to work with them, and I just want to share them with as many people as possible, because their singing is fantastic, the joy they bring is fantastic, and the harmonies, the fun, the laughter. I can guarantee you'll have an absolutely fantastic time at Let's Dance
next week, 6 p.m. Marius?
Yeah, they work a lot. And they deserve our support.
Indeed.
They deserve our support as audience, especially these days when on Facebook we have a lot of comments sometimes, and one that came this morning actually came from Jennifer. Jennifer Marshall is the co-founder of Cayman Arts Festival. She's now based in Malta, and her comment is like, people in Cayman, you have no idea how privileged you are that you have live concerts. They are in lockdown now in Malta.
Everybody's in prison these days. This is why we celebrate and give thanks, man. And I appreciate very much the opportunity. I've been honored, ladies, if I can say, your inspiration. I trust that not just your schooling now in the formative years, but following high school and the wider world beyond. May you enjoy everything. Maybe you'll be imbued with great success and continue to, encourage others as you, sort of partake of what life has to offer. So all the very best to you. Ms. Naomi, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us.
All right. It was an honor. Now, after the news break, we want to talk a little bit about some of our lab professionals. And then at 1:30, a slight schedule change. We're going to have some open line, which is always a good way. If I can encourage, DJ Silver Fox to sing with me, you guys may have a special treat. But that's not going to happen. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm Shanda Gallego with your latest headlines. Government reported the results of 227 COVID-19 tests on Tuesday. One positive was confirmed and is a traveler who tested positive following routine screening. The total number of COVID-19 vaccines administered to date is 65,680. Turning to international news now, the United States has told its citizens to leave India as soon as possible as the country battles a devastating coronavirus wave. India reported 379,257 new infections on Thursday, the world's highest single-day total. The U.S. Embassy warned that access to all types of medical care is becoming severely limited. The Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory is the highest of its kind issued by the Department of State. The overall death toll in India officially surpassed 200,000 on Wednesday, though experts believe the actual number could be much higher. Federal agencies are investigating at least 2 possible incidents on U.S. soil, including one near the White House in November of last year that appear similar to mysterious invisible attacks that have led to debilitating symptoms for dozens of U.S. personnel abroad. Multiple sources familiar with the matter tell CNN that while the Pentagon and other agencies probing the matter have reached no clear conclusions on what happened, the fact that such an attack might have taken place so close to the White House is particularly alarming. And Turkey is bracing itself for its first national coronavirus lockdown as infection rates continue to climb in the country, now the highest in Europe. The lockdown begins today and will last through the remainder of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. It is scheduled to end 5 a.m. on May 17th, that according to a statement from the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky. This is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman. Praise time.
Jesus in the morning. I will. So send me, Lord. I will go.
weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Just a quick programming note. 1:30 onwards, we'll do, offer up the opportunity for some open line. But now, I think in the vein of having us understand that there's much in line of the education, career opportunities that are available to us, especially through the medical field as we look at STEM. I say STEAM, not just the science and the technology and engineering, math, but include the A for arts. And I think even as scientists, there is some artistic expression that can be had. Well, as part of CASMET, we want to welcome an opportunity to talk about the sort of lab professionals we can get a chance to talk about the adventures of the laboratory. So as we welcome to the studio, 3 wonderful people. Even though one may not necessarily be from the Health Services Authority, we still include him as being a good guy. But first, I think the angel amongst the heroes, Ms. Marcia Robinson Walter, thank you very much for coming on board again this afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come.
All right. So you may have seen him on the chessboard. You may have heard his voice sort of, lull you in the afternoons, Mr. Martin McKenzie, good afternoon, Mike. Always a pleasure.
Hi, good afternoon.
And I think it's never an inopportune time to sort of demonstrate that you can have brain and brawn. In men as well, right? So, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Archibald, good afternoon, man.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I am great, thank you.
I must share, following the students that we had earlier, it put me in a space where I'm so appreciative that our future is always bright and beaming, and when we have that promise and potential of our youth, that energy, the enthusiasm, that notion that you can be anything through hard work, dogged determination, but a loving, nurturing, caring environment in a society that's willing to embrace.
Yes.
So when we grow up, Ms. Marcia, we're going to be successful, right?
Very successful.
Tell us about CASMET and welcome. Professor Martin, maybe a quick history of it, of laboratory in a minute, but before we get there, set the stage for us. I mean, it's good that we can celebrate professionals in different arenas, that we can have this notion that through organizations and associations, whether they're professional or social or sporting, that through the promotion we can extend an invitation for people to participate.
Yes, it's very good.
All right, share with us one.
So we had Laboratory Professionals Week celebrated April the 18th to the 24th. We're a bit late to come on.
We had an election apparently between.
That's it. And so we had a number of activities that we did, and including that we went to the BRAC. We had some educational career talk with the children from year 9 to 10 at the Lehman Scott High School, and we shared on the medical laboratory professionals different career options, and we also shared on different opportunities in the medical field. So it was a wide scope there given to them. We had our continuing medical education there and an awards dinner. It was really good.
I think it's great to be able to sort of associate with your fellow colleagues in a setting outside of, ordinary activities. But I think sometimes when we think of our laboratories, we have this image that's conjured in our minds, whether it's the white coat, whether it's the sterile environment, whether it's the silence. There is this thing. But I think, Martin, from that perspective, though, we don't always appreciate that a lab, could be, in the simplest of terms, the little shed in the backyard that you go to, maybe look at your potted plants and translate and try to see how you can bud something new. Or it could be that very expensive thing. History of the laboratory, as it were.
Okay, we could just back up a bit, so we can go back and just look at the brief history of the labs. I must say labs come far away, and I must also say that the labs could be considered the center of gravity for medicine. A lot of things hover around the lab. About 70 to 80% of our diagnosis, as we always say, is stem from a lab result, whether you're monitoring a patient, diagnosing, whatever the case may be. Now, going back to the day, which in the ancient times, they used to speak about miasma and contagion. Back in those days, they would rely more on something that have a stench, whether it be a person or an environment, whatever the case may be. So, coming through the years, people like Lowenhoek and them since developed the microscope, which actually give us an insight as to exactly what we were dealing with. During those times, even before that, doctors would, for example, perform a test such as a urine test by tasting urine, which is we consider to be a dangerous practice. They would also maybe put urine out there on a surface or so to see if ants would attack it, and they would know if the person have diabetes and so. But since then, the lab has come a far way. Even in our time, actually, we do what we call manual methods, and this back in the day, and this is, recent as the 90s, we would actually do, for example, let's say hematology, we do blood counts. You would find about maybe 5 people in that department, one doing, let's say, white blood cell count, one doing red blood cell count, platelet, because of the nature of the work itself being manual. But now we have analyzers now that could actually do all of those counts in about 4 to 5 seconds. So labs that come a far away. So we're dealing with complex analyzers now. We are also dealing with molecular methods, which brings speed and accuracy to laboratory and kind of minimize any errors, that is incumbent on humans performing such tests. So labs that indeed come a far away.
And as you talk about lab tests and the results, here's the patient, perhaps it's a urinalysis, perhaps it's some blood work or the like, a biopsy even. But I think too many times, and I say this sensitively but respectfully, we think of the pathologists and the autopsy. But let's get to a space before we get to that place, before we end up on that table, it's kind of late then, doing the sort of the lab work now. The prevention, the analysis, the diagnosis will lead to the treatment. So the lab work is crucial.
Very crucial.
It is. The medical laboratory professionals, I mean, there are much. I'm just, as you were talking, I'm just thinking of my, taking a virtual tour in my mind, just at the HSC, as we come through those doors. I don't like the scanner that we, I hate that. I honestly, I don't find many things egregious. I find that offensive, but that aside, you go to your left, there's the lab, and you do your stuff, and the people are friendly, and they're taking your blood. But you go further down, and if you walk through, well, it's one down the road where you don't want to be because it's where, those things transpire, but it's a little bit late. But there's so many different levels of engagement, so many different professionals. Would it be appropriate, not necessarily exhaustive, but to give us an idea of the different sort of laboratory professionals that exist and an insight, because we could be thinking of where we want to go.
Yep. Yes. The lab, in terms of the scope of testing, if you look at the scope, it's kind of wide and far, especially with the advent of molecular techniques. But we have certain disciplines. For example, hematology, we have chemistry, we have microbiology, we have blood bank, histology, cytology, and with those departments comes, certain professionals, and it all starts with if you want to say, the phlebotomist. That's the person you would see when you come into the lab, who would actually draw your specimens. It's not just about taking blood, but also ensuring the accuracy and the identity of the person they're taking it from, the correct containers and all of that. So we have the phlebotomists doing that. Then we have lab technicians, which is just maybe in terms of looking at a strata, just below the technologists. And as everybody refer to us as medical technician or lab technicians, but the word technologists come from know-how. The ones that actually went off and do pharma studies. The technicians also do pharma studies, but to a lesser extent. So we have the technicians, then the next layer in the strata, we have the medical technologists. Those are the ones who would actually perform tests and, authorize to report results.
Right.
Then we also have, coming back from history, the pathologists would normally head labs. Now labs are taking on a different slant. They have directors and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But then we also have the histologists and cytologists who would look more on the side of carcinomas or cancers, these kind of things. So the professionals, is wide in scope. Now you would hear things like molecular biologists or microbiologists, that coming into the fold of the labs. So the scope and the professionals is wide.
I think too, maybe, Archibald, if you come into the equation, we get into the end of another school year. It's been unprecedented for many, challenging.
Yep.
But many of our students, and perhaps their teachers and parents, their coaches, counselors, and other encouragers are saying, hey, you should consider this as a career. So when you were thinking about working in the medical field, and perhaps you want to get into the science and the research and labs in particular, how can one sort of enter that field? How do you go about becoming a laboratory professional?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Archibald Campbell. I'm the supervisor at MedLab. And so I'm just medical laboratory professionals. It includes the pathologists, as well as you heard Martin say, the medical technologists or clinical laboratory scientists, or lab technicians. We have the cytologists, histologists. For the medical technologists, clinical laboratory scientists, it's about 3 to 4 years of study. And you'll get a Bachelor of Science in medical technology. Persons as a lab technician usually comes in sometimes with an associate 2-year degree. And for the phlebotomist, it's between 6 months to a year, and you'll get a certificate. For the pathologist, of course, it's a medical doctor that's specialized in that particular area. So.
And I think this is where, as you laid it out, so many times, probably more so the parent and the teacher as opposed to the student, we don't understand the layers, we don't understand the training, we see it, and for whatever reason we have this ill-conceived perception, oh, that must be. But yet if we were to put aside those misconceptions, we can enter the field, and who knows, the person who comes in as a philologist with a 6-month certificate one day may enter med school and emerge as a pathologist.
And can I say?
We've seen that.
Yes.
We've seen that a lot.
We've
seen that a lot. Currently, I know some doctors, even at HSA, who were medical technologists. Now they are medical doctors.
Yep.
And they have gone further in specializing, and they are doing very good in oncology and in other areas of the laboratory. Some has become directors, pathologists, and the list goes on. So the level of training can start at a phlebotomist, and then the person can expand their training and aspire towards even to the pathologist and to as far. It's wide. It's you can go as far as the sky would allow you to go.
Exactly. And I must say, just this morning, me and my son had that conversation. He's a John Gray, and he's 15 years of age. He's in year 10. So I'm actually encouraging him to go along the lines of medical technology. So I'm originally from Guyana. We have a university there, so I'm giving him that option.
Yeah.
So you have that
option. So hope he's listening now. So Martin says, okay.
Yes, definitely. We just had a conversation this morning. And it's a 4-year degree to become a medical technologist. And I would encourage, students
But I think
go along that line.
I mean, you've alluded to it, but maybe we can emphasize it. We see the patient and the physician. Of course, the nurse, whether he comes in and tells the physician as she's listening to what the nurse is saying, but the lab professional, that the treatment and the help into that role is unmistakable. I mean, it's so important. But could we emphasize that role now isn't just taking the thing in the background? It's key.
It
so,
is.
Archibald, I mean, suppose the specimen isn't put in a proper container, it's mislabeled. Even that can be a problem, but there's more to it than that.
Right. So, for us, it's. I always tell people what we do is really important. As a youngster growing up, I wanted to do something in the medical field, and so. I had my eyes on being a medical doctor, but when I was introduced to medical technology, I think I found my love, because I like to work to work in the background, and I like to do investigations, to come up with things, and so as a lab professional, it gives you that opportunity to find stuff, to identify diseases, to confirm prognosis, determine treatments to help better the patient outcome. And so that's what we do. Most of the times the doctors can't just go along. Of course, they can see signs from doing the patient vitals, but they rely on the laboratory results to make decisions.
It's unbiased. It's your blood will see this thing. We're going to pause quickly and take a break. But when we come back, maybe, Marcy, we're going to ask you to tell us more about CASMET, what it is and the like. We'll have a few more minutes and we can chat, and perhaps we can close off maybe offering an invitation to our parents in particular as we encourage our students. But there may be some young people thinking, there may be some people who are really enjoying their work, but it's not where they actually want to go. This is a perfect time to consider career change and maybe invite them to think, well, how do I become and why should I become, part of the medical laboratory field? Could we do that? All right, we're going to pause. When we come back, we invite you to rejoin us. Please stay tuned.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Maybury Salisbury Kirkconnell, OBE JP, 1931 to 2002. Captain Maybury's career in public service began as a young man when he received medical treatment and would spend his school holidays assisting the local doctor on Cayman Brac. He was one of the pioneers of Cayman Brac Power and Light Company, Faith Hospital, and Kirkconnell Community Care Centre. He was a deacon at his church and often served as lay pastor, an opportunity he cherished. He was also a master mariner. Captain Maybury was elected to the Legislative Assembly in 1980 and served for 20 years. In 1996, he was elected Speaker, the second person to hold the post, and the first sitting MLA to be elected to the position. He did not seek re-election in 2000, but later accepted the legislators' unanimous call to return for another term as Speaker. He retired in 2001. Captain Maybury treasured his years in public service and lived by his motto, country before self. Although he and his wife, Marilyn Nee Parchman, had no children, they raised a grandniece, Otelia McKeever Scott, and Captain Maybury helped several Brac young people to obtain a higher education. Captain Maybury, Salisbury, Kirkconnell.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
So why is a computer so smart? Because it has a motherboard. Mother's Day is coming up. Do the smart thing. Stop by Savannah Pharmacy with a beautiful collection of bags and beauty products or housewares for outdoor dining. Make the smart decision. Get all your Mother's Day purchases at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village or call 946-3336. Mom would be proud.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thank you for being a part of a discussion. Thank you for being a part of this society. And if I can say this in a way that conveys a healthy sense of love and respect, but equally a calling upon each of our lives to be the very, very, very best that we can. Do, as my mother say, everything that you do with the best of your ability and with a loving smile. You'll not only do it even better, but you'll also get more reward. So as we talk about, the wonderful work that our laboratory professionals do, the importance of it in terms of the way we are treated and diagnosed. And, and I'm coming back to that. You may not see, but you will know. So we have Archibald Campbell together with Martin McKenzie. And I always laugh and joke and jest with him. And I say, he said he's from Guyana, I say I'm from West Bay. And of course, Ms. Marcy Robinson Walters. We're going to ask you during the break, what is CASMET? It sounds like something, you tell us what it is.
Okay, CASMET is an acronym for Caribbean Association of Medical Technologists. And that is a professional organization that as laboratory professionals, we've come together in the region to form this professional association. So we have nearly 2,000 medical laboratory professionals, phlebotomists, medical technologists or laboratory scientists, the lab technicians, pathologists, collaborating together to form this professional group. And we, throughout the years, have been going throughout the Caribbean, just collaborating to make our profession better each day. We have members all over the Caribbean, all the Caribbean countries, and we have branches of this association in the Cayman Islands, of course. We are a strong branch of the association, for which Mr. Shoyd Duncan is the chairperson. And for this organization, yours truly here is the president-elect for the Caribbean region. So we have we have members in Bahamas, Barbados, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and these are all branches, St. Martin, Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago. We also have territories, meaning that they're not a full-fledged branch, but they are administered by one of these branches. So they're medical professionals in those countries, such as smaller countries like Haiti. We have members there, but they are not a full-fledged branch. So they're under Jamaica, so to speak. And we have, our association is affiliated with the American Medical Technologists. So we work closely together, which is the AMT group. AMT, American Medical Technologists. So we are closely associated. These professionals also, we try to pull our students in. So students are also members. We allow them to join the association so they can see what they're coming into.
Yeah. Well, before I ask Martin to even revisit and remind us that the lab here at the Georgetown Hospital, HCSA, the GCA accredited, and the importance of what that means for Cayman, but even for the wider Caribbean. Right. We have a lot to offer, and I don't say it lightly, and I don't say it necessarily to do anything other than to encourage and inspire our students. We have a lot of great talent in this society. We just need to showcase it, celebrate it, and invite people to see it for what it is, as opposed to thinking that a small country of 100,000, four little, bits and pieces. We have a lot.
Yes.
In that vein, though, Ms. Marcy, you've had some activities. You referenced earlier the trip to the BRAC and the like.
Right.
Maybe give us a quick preview of what have you done so far, and is there anything left that you have on the calendar?
Yes, we do. We have two big events coming up after main lab week. Sometimes we can't do everything in the 1 week, so we spread it across to make it more effective. And so our walk run is the next big event, which is coming up. It's going to be the 2nd of May, and we're going to kick off at the Smith Cove Beach at 5:30 a.m. We encourage participants to come out at 5 a.m. so that you can get sorted out to just go to the run, start walking at 5:30. Persons can register on Cayman Active, or they can seek registration with our laboratory professionals at MedLab, at HSA, and Health City. They can get registered there. Or they can, if they see one of our laboratory professionals, they can contact them and they will get them sorted out to register.
Yep, so that's this Sunday.
This Sunday,
May
2nd.
Right.
So we are starting May with some healthy stuff, because of course we are not going to be closed up behind the scenes in the lab doing a lot of testing to see if persons are healthy when we ourselves need to go out there and do some exercise. So we're encouraging the public to come out and support, and we're encouraging them to get the numbers lower for the glucose, lower for the cholesterol, and we're going to have fun. So it's a fun run walk.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We're also going to be giving out a number of prizes and surprises, first place winners. And we're looking at our laboratory professionals who are going to be standing out in this walk, hopefully.
No pressure, gosh.
We're going to be getting prizes also. We're going to be having our T-shirts. Our packages can be picked up at MedLab on Friday. So persons need to hurry, because the first come, first serve T-shirts, the special T-shirts will be given to you if you come first,
Well, I'm hoping that it will just not only be a lot of fun and heavily subscribed, but people will start to appreciate the importance of it and, take ownership for our health.
Yes.
It's one thing to look healthy.
Yes.
It's one thing to be healthy. And you smile more. I mean, you didn't think it was possible, but I smile more.
It's true. I remember a few months ago, I walk most mornings, and I can remember Sir Martin saying to me, "Man, you look so radiant." He didn't know what was happening, but the walking was showing. The exercise was showing, and the fresh breath that I just go by the sea and breathe in was just showing. And he kept saying, you're just radiant. And I was like, oh, wow, it's because I'm walking.
And you actually come into work more productive.
You feel
there's
energized.
greater focus, you're energized.
You're more positive.
You're more positive. Yes. Your colleagues feel it. That has a positive sort of consequence for them. Your customers, your clients, whatever that is, internal, external, it really is a different feeling. You don't need the coffee. You can still enjoy it if you want. You don't need the tea. You can still have it if you wish.
Yes.
You just have that natural flow within the body. You know, you scientists talk about endorphins and all the good feel-good stuff that happens, but
yes.
the body is healthy and the mind is spirit.
Improving your immune system, as you know, COVID is up on us. Yeah.
That's it, man.
So, Sterling, I must point out also that we are going to try and do another dinner for laboratory staff who did not get to go to the BRAC, because we know that COVID has really been a big leak. Most of our staff has been working tirelessly, and you know, some persons got time to stay home, not the lab.
No.
We had to be championing and right at the front of the battle. That's why our theme for this year is
Avengers of the Laboratory.
Okay.
We believe in heroes.
And we believe in heroes.
Yes.
So we are going to have a dinner for our laboratory staff that did not go to the BRAC because, you know, everybody could not get to go because the work must go on. So we're going to repeat that dinner here and give them their awards because some of them deserve the tokens to say thank you.
Well, I've actually feel validated even once again that, you know, coming into the lab, whether it's, you know, just a simple blood test to get your annual physical, or whether it's something that you're dropping off for a founder member, to see that we have the competence and know that we have the confidence in them, but we've been resourced, we've been recognized and accredited, and it bodes well for a small jurisdiction. It helps us to really, as a nation, you know, be built up. You guys have to be commended, and I am glad that you were able to come in and share with us. And as parents, as we're listening, encourage our students, our children, to pursue other careers, but don't ignore the very obvious. As I just cast my mind across the labs, private or public, the opportunities are there for great, you know, careers, financial reward and recognition, but a significant contribution to the body of knowledge and to society.
I must also mention another area that persons can go into is quality management. It's becoming a very big profession by itself, specializing in that. Mr. Martin Gens, he's a lover of that area. He's our quality coordinator at our lab, and we've even in COVID we've gone through our accreditation cycle, and we amidst the stress, I know we did well, and we got reaccredited.
Yeah, we saw TQM and management in terms of manufacturing and business, but we need the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing, right?
Yes, it's a similar principle. We even took it a step further again, having the independent verification, whereby we become accredited. And again, looking at the importance of the lab. Look at this with this whole COVID pandemic. Even to travel now, it depends on the lab result.
Yep.
So again, you can't really move along until
you get the COVID test.
Yes, you have the stamp from us saying, and then we even took it a step further. The results from an accredited facility.
That's it.
The importance again of quality and being accredited.
Yeah.
So,
well, I commend you, and we would love very much to publicly invite you, not just during the sort of lab week that you celebrate your professionals, but even a phone call to encourage your students, teachers to encourage, their students to consider careers beyond the obvious.
One of our mission, because we know by our skills we are saving lives, and it encourages us when we see students. I remember seeing this young lady going to do some business, and she looked at my uniform and said, "What?" She said, "Hi, nurse," and I'm like, "No, I'm not a nurse. I'm a medical technologist." And she questioned me and said, "Yeah, what do you do?" And when I told her, she went and do her own little study, her own little investigation. And today she's at HSA.
See that? And this is, by their fruits you shall know them.
Yes, so we are looking into going into the schools more and to do more career talks with our children.
Well, we're happy. You send Martin and it'll be okay. But I want to invite you to enjoy the rest of this afternoon. Commend you for your untiring efforts. Know that as a community we're very appreciative of all that you do. We don't always understand what transpires behind the scene, but I think I can say with confidence that we all know that we give that specimen, whether it's blood or other, we know it's going to be processed competently, accurately, in a timely way, and then the results
quality
come back.
Results.
So that is there, and I think it's not just that it says, JCI, it's the fact that your commitment, individually and collectively. It means a lot.
Yes.
So for what it's worth, personal thanks, but I share the wider community for expressing it as well.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
It's an honor.
As always, we appreciate the support.
Most
Yes,
welcome.
really.
And I know that at your next dinner, the dessert's going to be good, so enjoy some for me.
we can invite you to Sterling.
Oh, man, there you go. +1. All right, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. To our listeners, let's have some fun, man. We got, an hour-ish or more when we come back for some open line. I won't get in trouble unless you lead me astray. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
We are in an age of exponential change. The world is experiencing a technology boom where innovation is at an all-time high. What does this mean for small island nations? How can we adapt to the emerging digital revolution? Join 900 delegates from 3 Caribbean countries at one regional event to tackle the theme, Global Digital Disruption, Threat or Opportunity. The virtual RF Economic Outlook Conference happens on May 6th. Register today at rfeoc.com.
At Subway, we know a meal isn't quite complete without a side, and that's why we're introducing waffle fries. Subway's waffle fries are oven-baked softness with extra crispy edge, giving a satisfying taste to be enjoyed as is or in any of Subway's dipping sauces. Order waffle fries as a side item for $2 or make it a meal deal with any sandwich or salad with a 20-ounce drink and waffle fries for an additional $3 or a 30-ounce or bottle drink and waffle fries for an additional $3.50. Subway, eat fresh.
During April, CUC and CUC's subcontractor, UMC, will be erecting poles and stringing power lines between 8 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays, and between 6:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays on Rex Crichton Boulevard in Prospect. Motorists are encouraged to use Shamrock Road when possible and to exercise extreme caution when using Rex Crichton Boulevard, as there will be temporary lane blockages and traffic management in place. For more information, contact 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky or email cindy@umc.ky.
Why work with a Sariba agent? We can tell you that those letters represent a proven understanding of the real estate market in the Cayman Islands. But it also means so much more than that. Our trained Sariba agents are committed to ethics, integrity, and excellence of practice. It's all about confidence, knowing you are working with a qualified Sariba agent. As members of Sariba, your trust is our promise. To find a Sariba agent today or to search thousands of listens, visit Sariba.com. Sariba, the mark of excellence in real estate.
But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program, because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks for your time, your attention. Thanks for all that you do. And if you feel that you're utilizing your time, your talent, and your treasure in a way that improves our society, well, give us a shout and share with us. What more can we do, or what is it that we're not doing that we should in fact be considering or at least attempting? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. If you would, allow me to maybe ask of each and every one of us to strongly consider something that we may, from time to time, have sort of, how do you say it, in that pensive, reflective moment, thought that is necessary, but we lacked the courage, the conviction. Perhaps we didn't feel that it was the opportune time. Perhaps we didn't feel that it was incumbent upon us to do it. But look at the Cayman community. Depending on who you ask, you may get a truly accurate number. It may just be one of those things that you've heard bantered about so often that you think, well, it must be. But let's say we have 100 plus nationalities, 140. Maybe there's more. and whether the population, just for round numbers, is at or near 100,000, whether that one day may become 200,000 or 300,000. You may look at other countries, other geographical areas, and say, well, they're the same size as us, or they're even smaller, and they're able to manage. Now, I don't want us to point fingers and assign blame, but if you could, and I would ask that you equally, hold me accountable, ask that we be together, collectively and individually responsible for our actions, our endeavors, our omissions and commissions, our inactions, and the like. Even our thoughts and misdeeds, the misgivings, the misperceptions, the misconceptions. And by that vein, let's look at the positive things that we are and that we want. Now, in this small community, how do we move about in a continued civilized way that is consistent with unifying all of us that are here? I think whether it's in economics or whether it's just in our own being, it's the want that motivates us, not the need. We may need another pair of shoes because we're exercising or because we're going to work or church, or we just want to cover the soles of our feet. We may need that, but the want may be that fancy new pair that perhaps it's a bit, at that time, a little costly. But that want may drive us to work a little extra hours or to move money from spending on something else in order to satisfy that want. Simple economic principles, the want that drives us. But then do we consider the cost? Well, in the example of the pair of shoes, if it's $100 or $1,000 or whatever the sum is for that pair of shoes, we can understand that cost. That's just the accounting, financial cost. But there's another cost that we don't always appreciate. In economic terms, they are opportunity costs. So that $100 that was spent on that pair of shoes, now you may not have that to spend on a dinner, to pay some utility, to donate to some charity. There is that other cost. And when we put those various costs together, hopefully, if our analysis is objective, impartial, unbiased, and somewhat devoid of emotion, again, when we want to satisfy that need, it is probably that emotion that will drive us. When it comes to the want, the need, it's the probably more than not the logical analysis. But if we can make that sort of computation based on these various factors, including all of the various sundry costs, would we then make the same decisions when it comes to satisfying that want? In our society, the want for me is a stable, harmonious, civil, obedient people, not to authority in and of itself, but for the desire that we all live in a place where we move about freely, knowing that we can leave our homes and our cars unlocked without people coming in and taking or entering in an unwanted and unwelcome way, or committing some crime against our business or a person or a home or other property. Now, some listening saying, but geez, that's idealistic. Well, is it unattainable? Think for a second what we were willing and what we were actually achieved last year, just in the Cayman context. We as a country follow the same rules as any other country. Borders were closed, there were curfews and house arrests and however you do. And I don't say those words lightly, because I think if we don't, say it for what it is, and sometimes say it in a way that may cause people to feel a bit uncomfortable, we may not be willing to think of it. But we as a people very responsibly complied with the things, even when we didn't think they made sense or were actually appropriate. But we believe in doing what we thought was best for others as much as for ourselves. If we could have done it in that vein, could we not also do it now with our actions to deliberately unify our society? We're going to revisit that more often, but let's just go back to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Very blessed and thankful. Very appreciative, Mom. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. Fighting the fight.
You know what? We have to work together, and we can make it that much better.
Sure can. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. I just started listening to you. Something in regards to your needs and your wants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't hear the whole full conversation, but Sterling,
Okay.
I have come to the conclusion that we are robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Sadly, at a very extortionate rate as well.
Yes, very much, yes. And, you know, I didn't understand the needs and the wants until as the years keep coming and you keep getting older
Uh-huh.
to know the difference between the needs and the wants. And let me tell you something, the wants is what destroy a lot of us to a degree.
Yeah.
Because Mary has it, we want it too. But then
Right.
again, like you know, we go buy that pair of shoes for $100, and you could have bought some food for the house, or you could have bought your kid a new uniform, or you could have paid deposit on your light bill or water bill that is probably
Right.
outstanding and,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff, you know. So you know, I'm going to say this, but I don't want to say it in no way to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I've been struggling with a house payment for many years, and having a lot of bank problems with the house. And we've been working on it and working on it here and there at the bank, and I'm losing all hours of the night to sleep on this loan for this house. And one night, Sterling, I had to tell myself for me to get some sleep. I say, you know what? The bank is closed. Everybody's sleeping. You need to go to sleep. You need to go to sleep too.
Yeah.
And I used to go home looking to see my door lock change. A piece of wood across my door that I can't get into my house.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was making payments, and depending on the job that I was at, sometimes I could not make the full payment. I had to make a choice between food, like bill and water bill, and the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
No car note. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
And Sterling, we had to rewrite the loan about 6 or 7 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from 10 to 25, and it turned out to be 23, and up in 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to make that last payment to them last year, August, to the bank, I didn't feel anything of excitement. I didn't feel anything that it's mine. Thank God. I just didn't get excited or anything in that category. And I didn't say that I didn't appreciate it, that it's paid, but it didn't bring no joy to me.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't bring no joy to me. And the hurtful part about it, when I know that I was coming down to the last payment, I had a lot of pennies at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep saving these pennies, and I counted those pennies out. And when I was making the last payment at the bank, I took $11 worth of pennies wrapped in the penny roll.
You imagine that, right? 100 pennies make $1, and you had $11 worth.
That's right. And I took them. I did it deliberately. So I took $11 out of pennies, and they took them and put it onto the loan. And that was my last day and my last payment for my house. And August is almost here, and I still haven't got. I thought I would get this overjoy, excitement, and throwing parties and cooking up and acting a fool. No, Sterling, no, because I know how I got that. I had to make a choice between a lot of things and make sure that my kids had a roof over their head and had something to eat at the same time, and work with the bank. You understand? So when you don't work with the bank and communicate with the bank, that's where we get messed up with our loans. If you have a problem with your loans at the bank, you need to talk to the bank to see what they can do to help keep you rolling until things get better and so forth, you know.
But as you're right. But as you're sharing that, though, I think there's, like you said, there's a two-pronged approach. You as the person paying the mortgage, having to communicate to the bank, especially in this time, so that they are aware. But then the bank has to also be able to be receptive to what you're sharing, to recognize that they're in business and they can't have everybody defaulting. But in time, we can get to a space where it's about a partnership. Now, for some of us, though, we will, like you said, take the $100 and maybe go to a party, go buy something frivolous, because it makes us feel good in the moment without it taking it to, pay that utility, that a bank note. But then by the same token, though, the word usury comes to mind. Are we of the perception, or is it a practice, that sometimes the interest, the usury, their extortionate fees that are tacked on to make it next to impossible to get it from under that burden of that debt, as it were?
You just got to fight the fight and stay in the race until you can see a light at the tunnel, and then you go from there. If you can't see no light at the tunnel, then you have to make some decision with who you're buying or renting from, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Because out here is not getting any easier for anybody. I don't care how much money they may have. They still got to go against some sort of block or degree and make sure they have everything in order before they can put their $10,000 on the table. You understand? And Sterling, I look at people, and people look at me and tell me that I got money and I got this and I got that. Sterling, I've been working crack all my life. I don't have $1 saved in none of these banks here in this island. I don't have $1 saved. I work from paycheck to paycheck. And you know what got me? Since I stopped making my house payment, I can't save that money up until today. That loan money that I supposed to have in my hand that I should be putting down to save, I do not have that in my hand.
Can you tell us why that is?
Because every month I got something added on to my bills.
Okay, so the cost of living is going up for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't drink. I don't smoke. I'm driving a Japanese car that's always giving trouble. And I'm not partying. I don't keep liquor in my house.
Let me invite you to consider something. Not just you personally, right? There are many subjects, many career paths that I think have made great contribution to the wealth of knowledge and improving society. I say this because I love the subject, and I think it goes with everything. It's the study of economics. We see economics in politics, we see economics in psychology, which I think is the other subject that allows us to really appreciate more so than history, sociology, or anything else, right? But if we look at society, and if we were to say compare Cayman, for instance, as a capitalist society, in some parts of Europe, but even Europe en masse, wonder what our society would be like if we took two components, the cost of education and the cost of healthcare, both through the health insurance as well as the cost of going to our physicians. And if those costs were somehow managed in a way that they didn't fall solely and squarely on the individual, in that, we recognize that even with the best health insurance, even with a degree of wealth, a person can be bankrupted because of a catastrophic, health issue.
Right.
Okay. So if those two costs, and even if the individual listening now would say, okay, what expenses do I have every month? Well, mortgage or rent. There may be other loans, but let's put them aside for a second, whether it's a car loan or others, right? Then you have your utilities. Then there's probably a pension contribution, and there's probably a health insurance component, whether it's paid for by you or by your employer or in a shared format. But I'm willing to say that if you take out just those two, the cost of your mortgage or rent and the cost of your health insurance, and then if you happen to have the private educational component, those two and possibly the educational component as a percentage of your salary is going to be so significant that there's probably nothing. And if you back out the mortgage or the rent and look at the health insurance and the education, what percentage of your salaries would that comprise? Now, if back to your example, you have unexpected expenses for the car, the home maintenance, you have the cost of the foods that you purchase, and you're not entertaining yourself through any other means, how is it that we're going to live now and have a good standard of living and quality of life? And what about 10 years or 30 years from now when we're retiring, when inflation and other things may eat away at your ability to live month to month or to have a savings for what is supposed to be the golden years. Are we thinking of those things? Can we address those things now so that we don't have a society that,
Well, yeah, you're right. It needs to be addressed because our younger people are going to get a lot of surprises as the years go by. We need to have a lot of workshops teaching these young people about responsibility and to teach them finance. And how to, if you got $10 and you're still in school as a high school student, you got $10 a day for lunch.
Right.
You know that you can minimize so much for your lunch and take the other rest home at the end of the day, and then you get another 10 again tomorrow.
But that level of that level of financial literacy that you talk about is important, as we maybe started from. And I say this without clear contradiction. Teach economics and finance from kindergarten, right? But I would respectfully say that it's not just our young people; it's us as adults, as parents,
yes, true,
who could benefit from that as well.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you 100%.
Yes, ma'am.
Because sometimes as adults, you don't be thinking. You say, "Oh, I don't care. I'm going to buy it."
And
when you get home, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know
How many of us as adults now probably don't have anything saved, not because we're not making enough, but because, as you've shared, we're not prudent and disciplined in saying, well, I'm not going to do this now, or just because we have the dollar in the pocket and it's burning a hole in it, that we have to. But before we go to the break, I recognize we're almost time for that break. Any other thought or comment that you may want to share?
I wanted to mention this. Now that we have a new government, I was just wondering if the planning department, whoever's in charge of the planning department, was looking for this 10% that was given to us many years ago, and it has been taken back from us, who wants to add on to our properties. And also, the planning department has a lot of little, I would call them those petty stuff out there, like if you want to put down a little shed, you got to have a permit to put that shed down. If you want to put a fence down, you have to get a permit.
Okay.
I feel that all that should be removed, because then that's how we can help the people that is here that can't probably even buy a home.
All right.
I mean, I might have let's say, for example, I had a grandmother that I want to bring home with me, or my mother want to bring home with me, and I could add on 10 here into my house to give her whole new privacy. It can't be done unless I go through planning to the fact that they want, I think that needs to be changed back to what was years ago.
All right.
But I hope all those guys that is going to be into the planning looking to it and think about a K-minus for a treat. If they can't go and buy property elsewhere and build elsewhere, give them back that 10% that they can add onto their parents' homes.
Well, we'll add some additional commentary to that after the news break, but you raise another good point again. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you very soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. Let's pause and take a break. Give us a shout after, man. We want to hear from you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm Shanda Gallego with your latest headlines. A 42-year-old man of Georgetown has been charged in relation to a firearm incident back in April. Police say just after 9 p.m. on Sunday, April 25th, officers of the Firearms Response Unit on patrol in Georgetown had cause to approach a man who was behaving suspiciously. The officers detained and searched him and recovered a loaded black handgun and several rounds of ammunition. The suspect has been formally charged with possession of ammunition, an unlicensed firearm, possession with intent to commit an offense, namely causing fear and provocation of violence. He appeared in court on Wednesday. Turning to international news now, Alexei Navalny has appeared in court from prison, had close shaven and face gaunt, and accused Vladimir Putin of attempting to rule Russia forever and caring only about clinging to power. It is the opposition politician's first public appearance since starting a 2.5-year jail term, seen as punishment for his fierce criticism of the Kremlin. Navalny spoke via video link, his prison kit hanging loosely after a recent 24-day hunger strike over his treatment. His language was as robust as ever. Prince William and Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, have released 2 new photographs to mark their 10-year wedding anniversary. The couple, who married at Westminster Abbey on April 29, 2011, released the portraits on Wednesday ahead of their anniversary on Thursday. The couple also shared a video on Twitter to mark their anniversary, writing that they were enormously grateful for the support they had received over the past decade. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Please be advised that the pension contribution holiday has been extended until 30th of June 2021. Employers and plan members should ensure arrangements are in place for salary deductions and remittance following this date. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, keeping you informed. For further information, visit chamberpensions.ky, and for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We're here for you.
I'm looking for a new pizza joint with that perfect crust. My car needs a bit of a tune-up, and my pregnant wife needs something from the pharmacy. So I turned to the printed yellow directory, and in an instant, the pizzas are ordered, the oil change is booked, and the thing that I'm not allowed to say out loud has been purchased for my wife. Problem solved. When you need something quick, do yourself a favor. Flip through the printed yellow directory. Stop searching, start finding. Yellow, we know local.
Now you'll never have to choose between 2 desserts at Subway. The new caramel brownie cookie is 2 treats in 1. Imagine sweet, gooey caramel with decadent chocolate chunks baked in brownie-flavored dough and topped with a light drizzle of caramel icing. And you have the new caramel brownie cookie, available at Subway. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious caramel brownie cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert. Available at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. We want you to be able to look not just at yourself in the mirror, your reflection, your shadow, whether you are in the midday sun or whether you're in the cool of the shade under the coconut tree swinging in a hammock, or whether you're busy at work or driving your car, music blasting and singing to yourself. We want you to be as positive and as happy as possible, not dismissive of your responsibilities, of whatever it is that may cause you to feel a little bit of a added burden. But we also want you to be able to look around and see other people in the society who are as positive and productive, and together we're making it work. That is not an idealistic approach, and it's not impossible to attain if we all do it together. We're, as the caller just shared, and what we've been hearing about so much, we're at a very pivotal time in human history. And if we would just start with the space in which we occupy, we can actually make it better. If you think about it, we just had an election. Yes, it was a very low turnout relative to previous elections. And we probably are going to, unfortunately, and I would say improperly, conclude that compared to other democracies, it's a high turnout. Well, it's not high enough, is it? If it's never 100%, you can always improve. And if it's 100%, can it be consistently 100%? And if it's 100%, maybe the next 100% can be done faster. So you can always improve. Once, as my mama reminds us, never rest on our laurels. So let's hear from you. How do we make the space and place better? And when we now have a new government, a new administration, a new leadership, will that be new vision, interest, energy, enthusiasm, and an approach to empower all? And when we as a people can speak constructively, responsibly, and respectfully to and about each other, then it's a healthy democracy. And when we look at things and recognize that, you know what, that's not good enough. In fact, that has just been that way for too long, and it needs to change. Not for change's sake, but for change to make it better. Maybe other people will be held accountable. Maybe the things that we were willing to accept, we no longer do. Take, for instance, the lady prior who called and said, well, why is the process of planning? Now, we may point fingers at individuals, and we might say that person is, and we lament about all of the negative qualities. And it might be true. The person may just be that. But what if that person is, working in a system that the system itself needs to be addressed, improved, and we don't? Well, are we mistakenly maligning the person without necessarily ensuring that the system in which the person or the people operate and function is addressed and improved? Now, sometimes the person is the problem and either needs to be retrained or removed. Are we even courageous enough to do the same? Especially if that person is us. So we point fingers, but what about the fingers that are pointed at us? So to the issue of zoning for residential purposes, looking at the limited land mass. Yes, there are much undeveloped spaces. Yes, there have probably been calls and attempts to fill in swamps and to dredge other areas for the aggregate that we need for our roads and our buildings. But what about the wide open spaces, not just for the environmental benefits that they present, the wildlife that we can enjoy, and the sort of delicate balance between the natural habitat of our flora and fauna, of our birds, but for us, in our enjoyment, improving our mental wellness and our health and well-being, but also being able to get in that space and to realize that the great outdoors is where we should sometimes assemble, solely or with a good companion. But what about equally, using the spaces that we do develop more responsibly, more efficiently and effectively? To the caller's point, we could add on to our existing structure to allow, the extended family, the aging mother, grandmother, perhaps the young adult. If we look at other jurisdictions that have been facing a shortage in housing because of cost, perhaps because of limited land space, perhaps all and many reasons, they've coined words like ADUs, additional dwelling units. Well, can we do the same without making tenement yards and shanty towns and shacks and slums and all of the other things that we have negatively ascribed to these spaces? But yet, in the gated community, the sprawling mansion that may have, guest suites, guest houses, so a space above the garage that is a nanny flat or an in-law suite or whatever, wonderful term that we have ascribed to it as a euphemism for something other than what it is, right? But what about the pool house, the cabana, the casita? We equally need to be able to recognize that once the space is a safe, habitable, clean space, it may be 100 square feet, it may be 1,000 square feet. Now, whether your house is 10,000 square feet or more or less, once it's a safe space for those who occupy it. Now, to the caller's point, is it the zoning? Is it the planning process? Both the cost and the, the red tape, the bureaucracy. Maybe it's the people who are in the system that frustrate the application. But again, we need to work together. From that to moving about our society, in our supermarkets, how do we greet and treat the staff, but also the other consumers who are there probably doing what you are attempting to do as well? What about on our roads? And then come back to the nationalities that live here, whether they've just arrived, or they've been here 10 years, or they've been here just about all of their lives. How do we interact with each other? I can share that there are many of us who have traveled to places and met people and say, wow, they're so wonderful, they're so friendly, this place is so clean, what a nice place. Now, it may be one of those places that appreciate that visitors from outside and the interaction. It may be just that the people there have come to an understanding that as different as we are, we're more alike. Now, have we lost that in the Cayman context because we talk about the rat race, the concrete jungle, and the hustle and the bustle? Have we been reminded that, those remote, undeveloped areas were places where not long ago we would go and dump our refuse? We would take or use appliances and household furniture and just toss them out. Maybe because we didn't think that there was another place to take it, or we didn't appreciate the impact it was having. But now that we should know better, maybe we're willing to address it. Now, it may not be that it's the used appliance. It may be the fact that we just had a light lunch, and the bag in which the lunch was placed and the box in which the lunch, was catered, we just tossed it out the window. It's probably biodegradable, whether in 10 months or in 10,000 years. But wouldn't it be better to take it back and properly dispose of it? Maybe we don't have that respect for that space. But more importantly, do we have the respect for ourselves? So give us a shout. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. We're going to pause and take a short break, and then if what we share offends or inflames, please don't take it as such. Maybe it'll motivate and encourage and inspire. And that would be even better. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
We are in an age of exponential change. The world is experiencing a technology boom where innovation is at an all-time high. What does this mean for small island nations? How can we adapt to the emerging digital revolution? Join 900 delegates from 3 Caribbean countries at one regional event to tackle the theme, Global Digital Disruption, Threat or Opportunity. The virtual RF Economic Outlook Conference happens on May 6th. Register today at rfeoc.com.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman, in partnership with the Lions Club of Cayman Brac, will be hosting a prostate and colon cancer educational awareness meeting this Friday, 30th April at 7 p.m. at the Brac Reef Resort Meeting Room. The guest speaker for the evening will be Dr. Gurish of the Faith Hospital. Royal Medical and Wellness Center will also be present to offer PSA testing. Come out and be informed.
WorkJobs Cayman has a new look. Registered users can now experience a more user-friendly platform, allowing for easier registration and posting of job ads. To see and experience the new look today, visit www.work.ky. That's WORC.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, 949-8037. That's a simple 7-digit number that you can dial. Add a couple more to it, 4 to be specific. 1-800-534-8255. Much easier, much cheaper. Flo will pick up the tab if you dial us on that. If none of those are working, try 949-6990. Or you can equally, send us a WhatsApp on 925-3261. Now, we were weighing heavily a conversation that we had, just recently with some of our listeners relative to what is now going to happen as the country moves forward. The borders will open. How will that play out? What will the new government do? What are our expectations of them? What is the perception that we have of the government collectively from the perspective of all of the 19 members? And I've been doing, in the last few hours in particular, sort of meditating on what someone shared relative to our political landscape. The notion that we heard not long ago all of the parliamentarians talking about a country that should be thinking about independence. What does that mean? What will it look like? As the lady shared, she says, perhaps the first time that we've had that sort of public discussion in such a national forum, in such a space where they allowed those who were talking certain privileges and immunities. How was that perceived, she asks? in the wider community and internationally. That, she says, because of the years that she's had her interest and direct involvement in the political landscape. Not long ago, she thought that would have maybe created a bit of a scare internationally. That investor, wow, that country talking about independence. But she believes that times have changed and people are prepared to now stand and be counted and perhaps row their own canoe. She used a different term, but for me that would be the better one. With that in mind, can it be, as she has said, that this is a wonderful time to revisit how we govern? And not just how we are governed, but how we are going about managing our country's people's resources. And she said last year, for all of us, it was a different time. Now, this lady revealed that if you think back to the days of our grandparents and the way they lived, it wasn't just about subsistence. There was a quality of life. There was an understanding that if you wanted something, you worked for it. That you, as one member in your community, you live together. And if you allow me to use the term I've always heard my mother talk about, you share and share alike. So nobody went without. Not that you were necessarily rich, but you didn't realize that you were poor because you lacked very little. It wasn't because everybody was in the same boat when it comes to not having anything. It's because everybody was in the same boat, recognizing that their actions impacted and were affected, by one and the other. Many of us have coined what I think the great lady from the U.S., Hillary Clinton, used to talk about, the village to raise a child, but maybe we don't really appreciate the consequence of that. And what was said has now become nothing more than a cliche. But is that raising a child meaning that we don't only help to guide and nurture that child, but we draw alongside and provide the resource that child needs? I think openly and thank publicly those who have served in organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, who have acted as mentors and coaches, who find a way to ensure that the children get safely to and from school and after school activities, from the sports to the academics, the athletics, and everything else. Now, what about us as parents? Are we able to invest equally in our children? Are we required to invest even more so? But if the parent continues to sacrifice and gets no enjoyment, will that household be as nurturing and as productive because the parent is working 2 and 3 jobs? Notice I say parent, because many of us no longer have parents. And even when we do, is that parental household a stable one? We talk about dysfunctional families, but we don't really look at ours and consider, is it such? Let's go to our phones though. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, and thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Eubanks. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Not too bad, not too bad. I just wanted to put this out there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you were just talking about our style of governance.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a big proponent of a directive democracy.
A directive democracy.
A direct democracy.
A direct, okay.
A direct democracy. I'm convinced our representative style of democracy doesn't work for the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
It does not work.
Share with us how you mean. Go ahead.
No one can convince me 19 members of a small nation island has all the answers and can make all the decisions for all the people. We have to reverse it. We have to put the power back in the people's hands. And the representative style of democracy doesn't give the people the power. So a direct democracy, I want people to think about that. All researchers have shown when the power is with the people, we have less corruption, we get more done, the people make the decisions, the people benefit. It's all a win-win.
So
I don't understand how we can't change our style of representative democracy to a direct democracy without the UK's approval.
Okay, so
to me that should be a devolved issue.
All right. I think there'll be those who would tell you that they will agree with you, but without asking, necessarily impose on you further, give us a little bit more information. What do you mean? What does that look like in a direct democracy?
We talk about district councils, but a direct democracy, we shouldn't need 19 representatives.
How many
should? I would say we need 7 authorized signatories to sign off on whatever this decision that people make.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could go about it. I mean, it shouldn't be we should be able to advance the way we vote.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the traditional way of voting is very, very old, outdated. We should be able to sign on with our voter's card or some biometrics to identify our voters, and we make decisions on the topics that we have to make.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, to me, we need more participation of the people, and a direct democracy would force the people to participate in the decisions that we make for this country moving forward.
Okay, and then
as simple as that.
Right. No, I think what you share makes sense. But then how, for those that are listening, we have 19 people now. What does that translate into? Would we have more than 19? Would we be electing them?
We have less. I mean, when there's any agreements that needs to be signed, we have a representative from each district. And I'm not talking about electoral districts. I'm talking about the original districts that we had. We have
the 6 districts.
Yeah, you know, and we call them authorized signatories or whatever title we want to give them.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they're just rubber stamping the decision that the people made.
Mm-hmm.
It's you know, I mean, to me, that's a win-win for everybody.
And then
we don't have to worry about all the power that cabinet has.
And how would those decisions? Because I like what you're sharing, and forgive me, you know, my brain sometimes thinks a little faster than sometimes don't catch up as fast as you're maybe going. But there were in the past some calls, and I think increasingly more so now, this notion of a national vote, and the caller perhaps, you know, has to do other things. But how does that play out? Let's go to this other line. Good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon, Jane.
Hey, my friend, how are you today?
I'm very thankful, you know. Jane, everybody's talking about opening up.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, people is not taking the necessary precautions, because I understand those that, on advice of a doctor, we're taking the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But Jane, the government has got to play the hard, take the hard and the heavy maul now.
Mm-hmm.
You go until June 30th. You get vaccinated, or if not, you're on your own. We can't keep the place locked down because somebody don't want to go take get vaccinated, you know.
So when you say, okay, sorry, go ahead. I am.
So I mean, those of us who grew up, certainly when I grew up, you know, we were vaccinated. You know, I don't know all the vaccinations that I got, but we surely were vaccinated as youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm certain that would have been over 50 years ago. I would have had those vaccinations. I'm still living. I don't know whether I'm in a fool or what, but I mean, I'm still living. You know, and I'm very thankful to be around.
Mm-hmm.
But the government's got to take the hard. They got to take the hard line and say, listen, you guys go until the 30th of June. And if you don't take it, well, you know, we even got crematory here now, so you know, you on your own, man. It just got to be hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I understand those people that got certain conditions and on the advice of their doctor haven't been able to take it. I understand those people.
Mm-hmm.
They put extra miles to protect them. But I mean, the thing about it, how long can the government keep the country locked down, and we still enjoy the same sort of living that we are enjoying? No, it's only a certain time. You know, I mean, the bucket gonna go to the well one time. The next time, bottom gonna come out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
and I mean, the thing about it is, right, is that we are so fortunate here in Cayman that people in other jurisdictions, I believe, if the figures that were given to me day before yesterday is accurate, I believe Jamaica's got almost 3 million people, and so far they've been able to vaccinate 154,000.
What does that translate as a percentage of their population?
Exactly so. But I mean, look at us. Look at how fortunate we are. We got a chief medical officer appealing to people because the shipment that they got I think there's going to be something about an expiration in June or something.
Yeah, right? the expiration date. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, we are fortunate here to have it. There's
Right.
people around the world that is begging, screaming, pleading
Mm-hmm.
to get it, right? So I can't understand it. I mean, you know,
Right.
I just can't understand it.
But let me then ask. You're saying put a timeline, you get it, and if not, you're on your own. So two things come to mind. Almost an implicit sort of force, certainly a deliberate encouragement to go and get it. Those who are refused to, for whatever reason, putting aside, as you shared, the ones who perhaps under medical advice have been cautioned against it. For those who refuse, then what? Are they excluded from society? What happens to them?
But no one's talking about excluding them from society.
Right.
If you so far, I think that we've got, I don't know, over 30,000 people. I understand have got the vaccine. That's my understanding. Okay, if those figures are wrong, then I stand corrected. But
okay.
More than half the population have gone and done this. They got vaccinated. So should the rest of us then who has been got vaccinated suffer the economical hardship for those who just simply do not want to go and adamant that and even those who I'm sure would have been vaccinated already in their lifetime. So you know, how do we deal with that? Somebody it got to be a hard line somewhere.
Yeah. But okay, if we were, I don't want to belabor it. I certainly don't want to be insensitive. I certainly don't want to, create integrative fear in people. But if we were to think of communist nations that employed similar strategies relative to people's freedoms and movements and their livelihood, we would be in the Western world looking at it with a degree of suspicion. But why is it then in the supposed capitalist democracies, when things like this transpire, it seems to be okay? The same mentality, the same approach, resulting in the same consequence for a populace, but we're much more amenable, in fact, not only inviting it, but requesting it of the presumably democratically elected governments.
Right. Well, I mean,
mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just simply everybody want like the saying goes, everybody want to go ahead, but nobody want to die.
Right.
Right. They want a place open up, but nobody's willing to go on the advice of what herd immunity is the advice.
But it's herd immunity, and I don't say this within the sense that I'm a medical observer, a medical professional, or even necessarily have any great interest in the medicines of the world, right? But the question has to be asked, like with anything, how confident can we be in the advice and information that we receive these days from quote-unquote official sources when there's been such distrust globally? When in this instance we have healthcare professionals. I looked at an article that a good friend shared from the Daily Observer just this morning alone that talks about this international tribunal wanting the government in Antigua and Barbuda, I think it was, to stop the vaccination for its residents, right? Claiming that it's in their allegation that it compromises the immune system. We're probably in a very, very pivotal point in history, and is economics, let me use that different word, is money, that love and pursuit of money, whether through greed or just to preserve our own wealth. Is that driving much of our decisions as we've alleged in the past? Is it the social conscience to ensure the health and safety of people of paramount concern? I mean, there's so much, right?
Yeah. But, everything in this world is money. So, anyway, Dwayne, I'll leave you at that.
Thank you, my friend. All the best to you. We'll chat some more. All right, we're going to pause and call it the day for today. And as I look at this last comment from our listener, perhaps tomorrow might be a better day to relate, but suffice it to say that the notion as to what we're seeing transpiring has a lot to do with a populace who may not necessarily always appreciate where we are. With that, we're going to try to continue in the vein of what we started way back when and have been able to do in the last few days consistently. Because in the program with a song, if I may say, a wonderful individual who requested this one, Jerusalem, Master KG, unifying us through music and dance, something that we all did during last year's house arrest and imprisonment lockdown that we've called. So as you listen and dance to this, remember how we can be unified and show love to one another. Jerusalem.
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana